Welcome back, folks. It's another great day here on Valiant Renegade. Make sure you hit that like, hit that subscribe, hit that notification bell. Share this sucker out on the social medias. And do leave a comment before you head out today. Because this is where Hollywood comes to get put through the business and financial lens of reality. It's time. Renegade Online. Now look at me in the corner. That's what happens when I don't set it before the intro rolls. My screen is in the wrong position. There it is. Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back. We are here live at 5 on a Sunday afternoon. Good to see each and every one of you out there. Glad you could join us. We got a bunch of stuff to go through today. Hope everybody's doing well. Hope everybody had a great weekend. Had a lot of fun yesterday. Did a little short road trip. Had to go visit the oldest in college at Family Day. Got home late last night. Man, I ate something earlier today. I did not agree with me. I am not feeling it right now. But we're going to do our best to get on through it. And yesterday morning, a bit of a surprise there with some Star Wars rumors breaking from from sources that, you know, frankly, I've got a lot of faith in. So we're going to discuss it. And if true, which I have no reason to believe it isn't at this point, it is amazing. Yeah, it's still amazing in 2025, maybe even more amazing in 2025 that no lessons have been learned. And it goes along with an article that I want to talk about later in the show as well, because it seems to go right along into this. In fact, I'll give you a little preview here of what I mean by that. And this one is from the New York Post. We'll talk about this a bit later. I want to cover some box office stuff first, as we typically do. Disney's having the worst year ever. From the New York Post. The worst year ever for Disney. I tend to agree. I really do. And, you know, just to remind everybody, on Tuesday, that is the final day of the fourth fiscal quarter for the Walt Disney Company. This will be, on Tuesday, the final day of their 2025 fiscal year, meaning the next earnings call that we get for Disney, along with all the other ones that we typically cover, like Warner Brothers, Paramount will be Skydance now, Netflix, AMC Theaters, what else am I missing? Universal, Comcast, you know, all those guys in the entertainment sector. Disney's, however, is a little bit different because this is the end of their fiscal year, whereas the other companies, I think, all tend to run concurrent with a calendar year, so from Jan 1 to December 31st. So when we cover those earnings calls come November, late October, and especially Disney will be early November, we're going to get a glimpse into a lot of things that we've been speculating on, of course, here the last several months since the previous earnings call and the previous quarterly close. And, of course, the big question for Disney is going to be, how well did the parks manage to survive over the summer as compared to Universal, which recently opened Epic? So again, we're gonna get a good glimpse into that, and as we've come to realize over time, Disney, especially Bob Iger, always loves to throw some kind of little jingling set of car keys out in front of investors and the public just before an earnings call to distract you from other things that may not have gone the way that they'd hoped. And remember, Disney is still sitting there valued in terms of its stock, in terms of its market capitalization. Pretty much the exact same that it was 10 full years ago. 10 years ago, before Marvel really ramped up. 10 years ago, before any of the Star Wars Disney sequel trilogies that we have to talk about today came out. 10 years ago, before they spent $70 billion to acquire Fox. The market out there seems to think that in the last 10 years, there has been roughly zero additional value added to the Walt Disney Company. Zero. That's or very, very close to zero. Please don't come back on me Monday and tell me, well, it's up 5% or something like this. Something that occurs in the daily movement of the stock price or in the last couple of days. But about 10 years ago, Disney was still floating around about 110 to 115 a share. Not much has changed. Where it should have, where it absolutely should have. Now, granted, a lot of that has to do with the fact that they have things that they're dealing with that are beyond their control, and the main one of which obviously has been cord cutting. But when you're a theme park company first, the cord cutting aspects should have a lesser impact than something like, say, Warner Brothers or Paramount or even Comcast, because even though Comcast isn't a theme park company, it is primarily a broadband service company. It delivers internet and telephone and cable to customers. Disney doesn't even deliver cable. It delivers a streaming service through Hulu Live TV, but it doesn't deliver physical broadband cable. It provides channels for broadband cable providers like Comcast and Spectrum and all that. So again, you look at it and you go, well, why is it still sitting in that same position? What anything material is going to change? Well, again, you look at articles like this and you have to wonder, and they keep throwing the things out like these deals with the NFL, and I still have a lot of questions about that. I think that's going to present a lot of problems down the road, especially if you're not named Disney, meaning if you're CBS or if you're NBC or if you're Fox, for Pete's sake, which have major contracts with the NFL. CBS and Fox have the two biggest contracts with the NFL. You're probably none too happy that, your biggest live sports partner just jumped not only in a business venture. I mean, they jumped in bed together. You've got NFL now having an partial ownership stake in ESPN. And that can't be sitting well. Can't be sitting well. Good to see everybody out there. We got about 600-something of you as we get the show going here. Please do me a favor and smack the like button. Hit the share button. Send it on out there to all your friends. Let me grab some of these super chats that came in early. Thank you very much to Oraxis for gifting 5 Valiant Renegade channel memberships. Much appreciated to you, sir. Mac for $1. Thank you very much. And Mike Healy says, Valiant, you've mentioned Sony had an awful box office year. You and Pro have any idea why the third Spider-Verse film got moved back to 27 that could have made money? Probably because they couldn't make it in time, I would guess. Issues with the script, issues with production, issues with something. They may have also decided to push it further back, not to jump ahead of the next live-action Spider-Man movie. I couldn't tell you. I've mentioned before, Sony is one of those special cases now. Sony is still putting out movies into the theater, which is great, but they're barely doing it. And what I mean by that, Sony is not, with the exception of IPs like Spider-Man, Sony is really not pressing into theaters with anything major. I think in some respects they think they are, but think about, major blockbuster movies that Sony has been involved in the last several years. There's you might be able to count them on one hand, less than one hand. And there two of them, the one that hasn't come out yet, have been Spider-Man. Sony is producing product for Netflix. That's Sony's big paycheck right now, is that reported $3 billion multi-year contract with Netflix. Netflix is paying for those productions. Sony is basically, they're throwing stuff into the theater, and what they're making there is some lagniappe because all of their theatrical content is under contract to go to Netflix for the streaming side of things, at least for an entire pay-one window. We've said before, I think to an extent, as sad as this sounds, I don't think Sony is overtly concerned with what they do in the box office because of that. Which is why I go back to saying I think that Comcast Universal has the best model for distribution, bar none, right now. And that is that they're making good films that go into theater. that get proper marketing budgets and pretty good windowing, okay? Then they go to their own proprietary streaming service on Peacock for a brief period of time, I think 3 months, and then they move over to Netflix or Amazon. And the Amazon contract's going away. Netflix was having so much success with Universal's properties that they bought them out. They wanted all of it. They didn't just want the animated stuff. They wanted the live action stuff too. So Universal gets a big fat check for that. But Universal's also making a good bit of money at the box office. So when we see things like Jurassic World, and it's like, dude, that movie probably cost more than what was suggested, like the last two did, okay? Whereas every movie for Disney is like that. This one for Universal for sure. But even if they lost a little bit of money in the box office, and I do mean a little bit, because the movie still did fairly well, although they did have a decent little hunk coming from China where they get next to nothing. But even, let's say, even if they lost, $25 million, $50 million on that movie, which I don't think they did. I have to go back and look at the numbers. I think they probably turned some kind of profit in the box office, although not a whole lot. Again, they've got a big fat check from Netflix for Jurassic World or from Amazon, and Netflix is paying them to make proprietary Jurassic World cartoons for Netflix. I mean, that franchise, not to mention the toys, is worth way more than what's just at the box office. Not every movie can do that. Marvel movies used to be great at it, obviously, but that's fallen apart. Nobody's buying Marvel toys in the store. Nobody's buying Pedro Pascal, Reed Richards at the toy store. It's not happening, They're not even selling Iron Man and Captain America like they used to. That's the real problem. But y'all know that story. We've talked about that a bunch. Packing Proton says for 29 months, Eric Adams out of the New York City mayor's race. Yes, commie mayor incoming. Oh, yeah. What's his name? Mamdani? That guy? Oh, yeah. Oh, that guy's a whack job. An absolute whack job. I thought about doing a Renegade Nation show later this evening. We'll see. Kind of depends on how I'm feeling. If not, we'll do one tomorrow or Tuesday. We'll definitely do something either tomorrow or Tuesday because Wednesday I'm going to be on the road, so we won't likely have a show Wednesday. Not like a regular show. There is a chance I may queue up like a chill stream, and I'll be in the car driving, so it's going to be like a car iPhone stream. So just be prepared. I'm going to see if I can make that happen. I'm always leery about doing those because I never know what kind of connectivity I have. And the only reason it'll work, I'll have Renegade Jr. with me in the car so he can kind of help monitor the chat and help with super chats, I think. So we'll see how that goes. Stay tuned for that. Tennessee Tornado for 5. I've been on X for 1 week and have already been suspended. Congratulations. And VR hasn't told me to F off yet. I feel like I've made it in life now. Man, I'm happy. That's great. And you gifted a membership. Thank you so much, Tennessee Tornado. Jeremiah says for 5, wow, just found out the New Orleans mayor got arrested. That's a shocker. I hope you're happy. Yeah, yes. Yeah, I mean, I'm not happy that we have another mayor that's going to prison, but she deserves to. And I mean, the sad thing is that she needed to go to prison 6 years ago. Then she got reelected while everybody knew she should go to prison. But that's New Orleans. Some people are simply not capable of self-governance, proper self-governance. And this is why you wind up with so many cities in America that fall apart and look like trash, like New Orleans. Haywood gifted a Valiant Renegade channel membership. Thank you, Haywood. Ben Mutt for 5. Good evening, all. VR, might be watching you and Matt Morse TV at the same time at 3:30 PST. Antifa and Portland said they are supposed to do something dumb. Oh, okay. Well, we might break in later for Renegade Nation then and go cover that if something's going on. There's a number of topics I want to talk about. Like I said, it really depends if my stomach starts feeling a little bit better between now and then. It's like I didn't want to can this show, and we don't have a set schedule per se for Renegade Nation, except we try to do those Thursday shows with Ron, which again this week won't be able to do a Thursday show with Ron because I will be at Halloween Horror Nights, or head in that direction. I'll put it this way: we're heading to Universal for the weekend. I mentioned that we don't have any specific plans yet, but getting there. MedMutt gifted 5 memberships. Thank you very much. And Tender Warrior gifted 5 channel memberships. Thank you, MedMutt. That is outstanding. And thank you, Tender Warrior. Also outstanding. Thank you guys very much. I didn't get to load this in backstage. I can't play it because I need to load it. I need to load it. I didn't load it. I totally forgot to. Shucks. Let's see. What do I want to give you guys? Hot on the heels of a disastrous second weekend for Fantastic Four First Steps from Marvel Studios and the Walt Disney Company, coming in even lower than early estimates projected, we're pleased to announce a new sponsor here on Valiant Renegade. Shitting the Bed, a Kevin Feige story. We're very excited to announce that pre-sales for this book have been absolutely outstanding. What? What do you mean the book sales fell off 67% in the second weekend? All right, let's get into some of these box office issues here, because one of the big things, and there's not a whole ton to go to. This is just the time of the year when the box office is kind of largely just dead. I mean, there's a few small things coming out, but look, we said this was coming. Demon Slayer has crossed over 600 million. It's now bigger than everything, everything that was comic book related, every Disney film this year that wasn't Lilo and Stitch. It's still going. It's still going to go. The Japanese box office, which is the bulk of the box office here, it's not like a lot of the American box office where you have this explosive, everybody shows up in the first week or two and then, just falls off real quick. Box office habits, movie-going habits in Japan tend to be a little bit different. You can see here 230 million. I think it's actually higher than that. And the other part of the problem that I'll caution people on this, you have to, this is not an American movie. We can't grade this in terms of what it's taken home the way that we do a movie from Disney or from Warner Brothers or Sony or Universal or what have you, right? Because this is not a U.S. Hollywood studio. This is a Japanese anime studio, meaning the domestic box office for this is not in dollars, it's in yen, and it is represented here. Japan is really not international. Japan is the domestic. So bear in mind, like when we talk about for an American film, and we talk about how, based on all of the data, the actual real numbers, not the trust me bro stuff, but the real data out there from AMC and Cinemark and certain studios that line item break it out like Paramount, when we see what the box office returns are and we say, okay, domestically, major films that have, minimum threshold at the box office, they're probably maybe taken somewhere on average around 55% back domestic, and then maybe around 40%, because the numbers have gotten steadily worse since COVID, but maybe around 40% average, not including China, on the international side. Well, that doesn't really work here for Demon Slayer, right? In fact, they I don't know if it's Sony that's distributing it here. Sony is getting back that domestic haul, that 55%. So, if you look at this, Sony Crunchyroll, right? Let's go over here, and I'll show you what I'm talking about, because this is a good exercise for something that's totally different out there. And, remember we had Godzilla -1 a couple of years ago? This would have been a very similar situation, right? This is, I think, being distributed by Toho in Japan, the native distribution wing, and Toho may be doing it in a few other countries out there. But here it's Sony Pictures, because Sony bought Crunchyroll, and Crunchyroll is the American distributor for Japanese anime. Crunchyroll has its own streaming service and all that kind of stuff. I subscribe to it, full disclosure. My daughter uses it a lot because she's a big anime nerd. But right here, Sony Pictures. So like Sony Pictures is getting back the 55%, and then they're paying back, because in this case, technically, Sony Pictures is an international distributor, because the U.S. is an international territory for this film. So Sony may be getting back 55% on the top end, and then they're taking their cut for their American distribution, and something less than 55%, for example, is making its way back to Toho and then eventually Ufotable, which is the guys that make Demon Slayer, the studio that makes Demon Slayer. Needless to say, and I know I have not run the numbers on this, but I don't think I need to. I mean, I can look at this and tell you guys right now, I don't think that there will be, in terms of percentage, another movie that gets made this year that will be more profitable than Demon Slayer. The pure return on investment of this movie is stupid. The actual production cost, because remember, this is not made in an overexpensive American animation studio. This is made in Japan. This movie was done for around, I believe it was $20 million. And some of that may have been production because this is the first of 3 parts, right? You're talking about a $20 million production cost, and I seriously doubt that the global marketing footprint for this was anything that was outrageous. I don't even think they would have spent, probably didn't even spend $100 million global marketing this thing. It might have been half. This kind of thing, Demon Slayer, it doesn't need a lot of marketing push. The fan base is so plugged in and so rabid that they're going to show up. It's a lot like a horror movie in that sense. You know, the horror genre, we always talk about how it doesn't take a lot of a marketing push to really move the needle with a good horror movie. Word of mouth gets around. People that like horror movies, they show up, they go see it. Demon Slayer has an absolutely diehard fan base. The amount of marketing that would have been spent on this would have been paltry. So in other words, if we just look at raw income, and let's just say, and again, forgetting for a moment that this is a Japanese title, we'd have to convert it back to yen, but let's just look at it as if it were a domestic film. Let's look at it from a US dollar standpoint. You're talking about a movie that probably doesn't even have $100 million all in production and marketing. I'd be surprised to find out if it even had $80 million, like $20 million in production, maybe $60 million total in global marketing, a lot of which would have been spent by international distributors, guys like Sony in this case, right? Because that's part of their grift for getting the movie to be the distributor in the US is for Sony to put up their own dollars to market it here. And then don't forget, because Sony is the US distributor, guess where Demon Slayer also eventually winds up after it plays on Crunchyroll? It goes to Netflix. So Netflix is cutting in, eventually. So, this is a money machine. You're looking at, on something like this, you're probably in the vicinity of 300%. Something ridiculous. If even they have 75 million all in on a global scale for this movie, it's taken home right now somewhere roughly $300 million, I would surmise. Roughly $300 million has made it back. I don't know what I don't know what Toho gets. We know what American movie cinemas like AMC and Cinemark pay back to Hollywood distribution. We know what they pay back to Paramount. We know what they pay back to Disney and Warner Brothers, at least on an average, because they're public companies. They're publicly traded companies that put out reports every quarter that we cover, right? And we cover a lot of them live when it's going on. So I don't know if let's assume for a second that the Japanese distributor gets a similar rate of return from Japanese cinemas. And that's what I'm trying to get into, right? It's just, let's just use apples for apples because there's no other information for us to really go on. I think it's a fairly reasonable assumption, though. But when we look at it from that standpoint, this is by far and beyond, this is the most profitable film of the year, I would say. At least in terms of like a major wide release. Not talking about, a little teeny tiny indie film that had a $10,000 budget that played at Sundance and made $500,000. Okay, I get that. We're talking about a major international release that was on thousands of screens, something that did at least 100 million. I mean, this is, in terms of the big blockbuster movie, this is it. There won't be anything to beat this. Oh, but Valiant, Avatar is coming out later this year. It's going to do $2 billion. I get that, but Avatar is also going to have cost somewhere around $700 million between production and marketing for that damn thing. And they're going to probably, and if they do $2 billion, they're going to get about $1 billion back, maybe, if they're lucky, depending on how much of that comes from China. So again, they made money, they made profit, but in terms of percentage, in terms of return on investment, I don't think anything's going to beat Demon Slayer this year. And damn it, I still haven't seen it. I know. It apparently wound up coming out at like the worst possible time for me because the weekend it came out, I'm up in Tennessee. The weekend after that was birthday stuff, and I had other things going on. And by the time Sunday rolled around, I'm like, dude, I wanted to go see it in IMAX. I don't have time to go see it before the show. And then this weekend, yesterday, it was, high school kid had homecoming dance. College kid had family day at her sorority. I'm gone all day. I'm getting home late last night, tired as hell. And then I get up this morning and I'm like, ugh, I don't want to go anywhere. I got to clean the house and I don't feel good. So I still haven't seen it, which is awful. It's just freaking awful that I have not seen this yet. I'm so frustrated. My daughter got to go see it. We usually like to go see it together, but she's in college and I'm here. We live hours apart now. So I told her, just go see it. Don't tell me She's like, well, I already know what happens because I've read the entire manga. I'm like, I know. Shut up. Don't tell me. Don't tell me. Oh, I should have made another cup of tea before the show started. This one's getting a little stale. I might have to go throw another one in here in a minute. So yeah, good on Demon Slayer. Good on Ufotable. And look, this is what happens, and this is what people are noticing out there. Let me talk about this. In fact, I need to find the article, or it was a post. It might have been something on it. Damn it, all these buttons changed. I love that StreamYard keeps adding new features, but they keep adding new features, and then I'm fumbling with them to try to figure out what on earth I'm freaking doing. So, I swear, like, all my stuff at the bottom, it moved around on me. And here we go with X again. Because I'm logged in Chrome, I can't open X in Safari now. X makes me want to go through two-factor authentication again and again and again. I appreciate X's desire to, protect people's accounts from being hijacked, but at some point it does get a wee bit obnoxious. And I'm trying to find, I had saved one of these things with Demons. I guess so many people were posting about this. Let me see if I can find it here. I think we had one earlier. And then we'll talk about a couple of the other movies there as well. Obviously, that's not the only one, but, well, I can't find it. So we'll just talk about this much. Demon Slayer has done something that again, it's taken down Disney's $400 million live-action Snow White remake. It's taken down Captain Falcon DEI. It's taken down Thunderbolts, another MCU overpriced title. It's taken down Fantastic Four, clearly gone. It's chasing behind F1 now, which it may well surpass F1. It's basically taken down everything. It's taken down Superman. Throw that well, technically not yet. It's close. It's going to happen. It's going to take down Superman. So let's just call it and say Superman is gone, from that standpoint. And it goes to show, I think, again, that a lot of domestic studios are so disconnected from what audiences want. And you look at what, and I grant you that Demon Slayer is one of the biggest mangas and most successful animes ever to be made. But it may actually start pointing a way for a number of other anime properties out there to start looking at doing theatrical events. I mean, you look back a couple of years ago when they did Mugen Train, which was the mid-range or the mid-arc story for Demon Slayer, came out, I think, 3 or 4 years ago now. I mean, Infinity Castle Part 1 is doing what? It's done 2.5 times Mugen Train's U.S. box office already. It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. And look, I'm here for it. I'm absolutely here for it. And I thought we had something on... Well, I thought we had something on that Park Place. We did not. By the way, make sure you guys are checking out thatparkplace.com every day. Everything you need to find out about. And yeah, I saw this Peacemaker thing on Fortnite. They removed his emote because somebody said it looked like a swastika. I'm not kidding. I'm not kidding. People be dumb. Just really, really dumb. Let's see here. What I want to get to here, though, since we've kind of got that out of the way, we talked about the Demon Slayer bit, and I want to get back to some of the other box office stuff because they're again, it's going to lead us into a story I want to get to about Warner Brothers having, I think, its most successful year right now. Certainly the most successful of all the studios, and I really don't think it's going to be surpassed, not in terms of overall profitability. Once again, key, overall profitability. But you look here at Demon Slayer, again, I can't get over how amazing that's really been. And it's still going. It's still going to probably be in theaters for another month. And why not, right? All right. Let's kind of work our way up here in terms of what really needs to be addressed. Let's start down here. The Conjuring Last Rites. You know, I said a few weeks ago when this came out that it was definitely going to take down all the Marvel movies except for Fantastic Four. But I said, hey, Fantastic Four might be on the table. That's kind of dialing it back now. You know, it's obviously there's still more money to go with this movie. Fantastic Four is looking a little more out of reach at this point. However, I cannot stress enough, again, when you look at relative profitability and performance, this is the 9th entry in a horror movie franchise. I mean, when you talk about this is the 4th Conjuring film, and in addition to the 4 Conjuring films, you've had the spin-offs from The Conjuring, which included The Nun 2, Annabelle, Annabelle Comes Home. There were 2 Annabelle movies, right? And then La Llorona, right? There's 9 movies in this franchise. And none of these things are particularly expensive to make. Matter of fact, you go down, $55 million production budget on The Conjuring. And I'm telling you right now, a not insignificant portion of that $55 million is undoubtedly above the line. And what I mean by that is it's the money they're paying Patrick Wilson and Vera Farmiga to come back and do this film. Vera Farmiga is also, she's getting production credits on these things now. And in terms of actual stick the cameras on the ground and film it, they're probably not. They're not this expensive. But I mean, these movies have been profit machines for quite some time. But you look at this $55 million production budget. I don't know if they spent another 50, 60, 70 million entirely in the worldwide. And you've already got somewhere around 200 million at least back in the till, maybe 220 back in the till already in that range. Let's see where the international, really nothing from China. It's not even playing in China, so there you go. So we can use the 50% rule here. I think would be a comfortable middle ground, and say that they've got 200 and almost 220 million back in the pocket right now for this. And I believe that international box office has updated through the weekend. Sometimes we don't. Yeah, it looks like through 9/28, so that's today. So 435. So about half of that coming back on a $55 million budget, maybe $100 million all in. Again, you don't need to spend a lot of money marketing these kinds of films because that fan base follows through. This is definitely going to be another one of the most profitable movies of the year. No question. No question. Okay? One of the most profitable films of the year. Renegade Jr. actually wants me to take him back to go see it a second time. And it was. We enjoyed it. And it seems to have hung in there pretty well. When you look at the domestic opening, I think, what was it? 84 million. So it's, and this is, look, the issue with The Conjuring. I was hoping that it would leg out a little bit better than it has so far. Clearly, we're not done yet here, kids. But I mean, $84 million opening weekend for a horror movie like this is bonkers. But it still hasn't gone to 2X yet. We still haven't gotten to 2X on this puppy yet. And we are on day, what is this, 17? No, we're more, 24. That's right. This was weekend 4, Pete's sake. So you can see here, I mean, we talk about front loading like with Marvel. Yeah, this was domestically very, very front loaded. This was an incredibly front loaded movie. But again, when your front loading is 84 million in the first weekend, and you spent $50 million to make it, you can get away with front loading all you want. It don't matter. Not to mention the fact that they'll probably have this movie available for PVOD. I would be willing to guarantee almost, if they haven't announced it yet, this movie will be up and available for premium video on demand from Warner Brothers prior to Halloween. I mean, it's already been out 24 days. Give it another 21 days, get to that 45-day window break. And then you're coming right up against Halloween. Drop this thing on PVOD, and they'll probably make another $20-30 million at least. Easy, if not more. That franchise is able to be licensed out to third parties, streamers, and everybody else for lots of money each and every year. And again, this is why they keep making these things, because it keeps pumping the franchise. Because Warner Brothers doesn't let everything just simply sit on their own network and die. So it's always something good there. All right, let me back up one more time. That was me. That was my fault. I hit the wrong button. Psych. There we go. Sorry. I hit the wrong back button. Let's go back here and let me pull up. I should be back in. Y'all can't hear me? I saw Daniel Larson said muted. I shouldn't. I mean, the mute is not on. Oh, thank you. You're out there telling me I'm muted. Okay. You sons of bitches. I hate you guys. I'm sitting here panicking because Larson's in the chat telling me I'm muted. And I'm like, what's going on? Bastard. All right. No, I went to hit the back button on the numbers to roll back to the weekend box office, and I accidentally snapped the back button on StreamYard, and I took myself out of the studio in StreamYard and had to come back in. That's what happened. Okay, let me get this back in here. I'm gonna hit the right one this time. Hey, look, if we ever get through a show where I don't make some egregious mistake, call a hospital because there's something wrong with me. I'm just telling you. If I get through a show without any errors, be worried because it's a skinwalker. It ain't me. I promise. I see y'all out there still trying to tell you, stop doing this. Stop telling me I'm muted. Y'all freaking me out. All right, let's talk about this one because I'm going to be honest with you. I'm a little... Apparently, this... Okay, you know how we talked about last week where Apple decided at the last minute to pull The Savant from Apple TV starring Jessica Chastain. Remember we talked about this, right? Because of what happened with Charlie Kirk, and they were like, you know what? Maybe we shouldn't run a TV show right now where, we have a white Karen sitting in her house all day, trying to take down evil white right-wing neo-Nazi extremist MAGA, literally Hitler, fascist, white supremacist, whatever. That's what the show was about. And Apple was like, this would be really in poor taste right now. Let's not air this just yet. Now, it may come out. It may never. I mean, I think they're going to release it eventually. Eventually, it's going to come out. I'd be surprised if they throw it into the ether forever and a day. Probably better if they did, but I don't think that's going to happen. Okay, the reason I bring that up is because apparently this movie maybe should have considered that as well. Because apparently it's nothing terribly different. It's another very left-wing fantasy wet dream. That's I'll leave it at there. I saw the previews for this thing, and it looked. I remember a couple of months ago seeing the first previews for this and thinking that this movie actually looked like it could be fun. I mean, yeah, I knew Sean Penn was in it, but not Sean Penn doesn't. I don't think he always does hyper-politicized characters, even though he is a wacko in real life, and he is. But I was like, you know what? I'm going to give this movie a chance because it actually kind of looks fun. The cast looks fun. You got Benicio del Toro. You got DiCaprio, Sean. I'm like, you know what? It looks kind of fun. I want to give it a chance. I didn't get a chance to see it this weekend. And then I saw people talking about it. And I'm like, oh, it's one of those. It's very much an homage to all of the very, at least my understanding is the way it's been described as people have seen it. It is certainly an homage to basically every left-wing stereotype of the right. Hey, now here's the thing. This shocked me. Okay, I want you to take a look at the box office. And I saw, 48 million global opening. I'm like, it's not great, but this isn't a big, this isn't a Marvel movie. This isn't a Disney $300 million live action remake. This movie isn't Spider-Man. This isn't Avatar. This is looks just like kind of like a fun, goofy crime action movie. It's got some comedy to it. Obviously, we now know it's got a very political slant. But I'm thinking that's probably fine. 48 million opening weekend for a movie like this. Again, this isn't a highfalutin, big VFX, at least not that I could tell from the trailers. This isn't some, they didn't spend $100 million on post-production and all this kind of stuff. Well, holy shit. I was wrong, y'all. And I had to dig today to verify this. Production budget, bro, $140 million. $140 million. What the F? I haven't seen it again, but nothing. And I mean nothing in the previews that I saw, the trailers, indicated anything that looked like this movie would even sniff near $100 million in terms of cost. And it's got DiCaprio in it. It's got, Benicio del Toro. I mean, it's got a cast that definitely commands some money, but this is not. How? How did we have above the line costs that would run this thing up? This is insane. You say, I see like Leo's half the budget, but why? What has Leonardo DiCaprio been in that has turned in like Robert Downey Jr. money? Nothing that I'm aware of. I mean, don't give me, oh, well, Titanic. Bro, that was 30 years ago almost. 30. Talking about now. So when I saw that, I'm like, okay, dude. And here's the bad news. Warner Brothers. Warner Brothers is the one that's distributing this picture. It's looking like this is going to be definitely, it's got to be one of the worst duds, if not the worst dud for Warner Brothers by the looks of it. Granted, after 3 days for the whole year. So if this is going to be their one egregious mistake, well, then so be it. Now, the other side of this is that this is one of these movies that's going to get put up for every freaking Oscar on earth. Okay? This is an awards picture. This is one of these things that studios spend too much money on with the purpose of we're going after awards. We're going after the prestige side of things, right? And then we're going to be able to make it up on the back end with streaming and licensing once it gets to awards season and it's nominated for everything. All right, this is kind of the play, right? But still, holy dog tits. 140 million? Bro, what? Now, I did some digging on this because I was flabbergasted. And this is the article I want to get to here. Warner Brothers, the first studio of the year to cross $4 billion at the global box office. D'Alessandro did this, I think, Friday. But there was another one. Did I take it down? God dog it. I might have done that by accident. Yeah, I need to go find it. Hang on a second. Because yeah, I think I swapped it. All right, let me go back down here. Here we go. This is the article I wanted. One battle after another. Okay, so this is the weekend box office from Nancy Tartaglione. And I think it's in this one, or maybe it was in the one that D'Alessandro did, but 48.5 million global. Demon Slayer tops 600 million. And I think this is the one where it talks about... No, it's not this one. My bad. This is it. This is the one. Okay, it was D'Alessandro's article. So, this is the one because I saw this and I'm like, good God. I mean, to this thing this $140 million, which I had no idea, again, was apparently it's some kind of like left-wing liberal progressive screed. But again, all the previews that I saw, the trailer, I remember watching this in the theater several times this summer going, man, that looks like it'd actually be fun. Well, the final fate of Warner Brothers' one battle after another with a U.S.-Canada opening of 22.4 and a global of 48.5 will be determined down the road off of its deadline confirms it $130 to $140 million production cost. What the hell? How? There's no way you're telling me that they paid. I mean, what was DiCaprio's salary? Like $50 million? Benicio del Toro, again, all these other guys, Sean Penn. I mean, again, how much can Sean Penn really command these days? Is putting Sean Penn in a movie guarantee you that you get an Oscar somewhere? I mean, it might. Typically, we at Deadline are judge, jury, and executioner on weekend one, but there's such an exuberant positivity out there for the film. And maybe this is mostly playing in deep blue areas. Don't get me wrong. The plan is for Warner Brothers to keep Paul Thomas Anderson's best opening ever. Leonardo DiCaprio's 11th $20+ million opener in theaters for as long as possible. Heading into awards season. There we go. No word on a window to PVOD or streaming, which, great. I mean, look, let the movie run, but it's going to be kind of funny because you want to let this movie run out into award season. We're talking about at least, 90 days at this point. Why not give some of those other ones 90 days? Like Superman, you could have given that one a little bit longer than 35 days and then whack PVOD. But hey, no, this isn't another bloated, high-priced auteur affair like Joker Folio do. I don't. How is this not another bloated, high-price auteur affair? $140 million for, DiCaprio running around in pajamas with. I know it's got some action stuff to it. Has anybody seen this? Are there some massive set pieces in this movie that I'm not aware of? Because I legit don't know. I cannot figure out what's going on here. Break even for the movie. And now this is what I don't get. Well, I do get. I'm gonna try to explain this, but it's just I hate the way that they word these things. Break even for the movie, I'm told, Anthony D'Alessandro, Deadline Magazine, is in the low 200 million global gross threshold. Why was it so expensive? Car chases and gun battles. At a time when the call is to shoot more movies in California, this one did exactly that. Okay, so there we go. Step one. Instead of them trying to do this movie in more cost-effective international locales that have, in a lot of cases, better film tax credits, higher, more lucrative film tax credits, they deliberately decided they wanted to shoot this one in California to help out the California economy and the unions. And they probably wound up spending an extra few tens of millions of dollars to do it in California versus somewhere else. So there's number one. The other thing is, how are we coming up with a low 200 million global gross threshold? Apparently, we're talking about not but production here. And again, I don't know how much they really spent on marketing. It might not have been very much. But if you're telling me that the budget for this was between 130 and 140, I don't see how we're in the low 200s unless that some of that, or at least the 130 to 140 is a gross spend and not net, right? That doesn't include, look at the next line, expenditures of $101.6 million, which is, according to this article, what they spent in California alone. So apparently they did do some work on this film outside of California, but what this seems to be suggesting is that $101.6 million was done in California, and they got an $8.4 million tax credit. Okay, and this is what's scary, and this is why I'm saying is this should give you an idea of how much they spent on the top line talent, or the above the line. $8.4 million. That's like 8%. It's not even quite 8%. California has a film tax credit that's more generous than 8%. But just like in the UK, right, you don't get a film tax credit from taxpayers in California or Georgia or Texas or Louisiana, wherever the hell else you're shooting. You don't get a film tax credit on what you pay Leo. You don't get a film tax credit for what you paid Benicio del Toro. You don't get a film tax credit for what you paid Sean Penn. Okay? Paul Thomas Anderson, if he got production credits, writing credits, directing credits, and all that up front, kind of like we saw with Zach Cregler in Weapons, where Warner Brothers just wrote him a check for $38 million straight up for the movie. But the real movie's actual production, minus Cregler himself, it was his film, was maybe, I think, 25 million for that film. And then Cregler got like a $10 million, $15 million bump on top of it, basically his profit line, right, for Warner Brothers to buy it out. You're not getting film tax credits and that kind of stuff. But in this case, they did everything in California. Well, Sean Penn and Leo and all that, they're in California, right? So, my God, Let's imagine for a second 8.4 million tax credit, and California gives you, I believe, around 25%. You start reverse engineering that and, shake a few things out here and there. You're talking about like maybe $40 million. $40 million in actual real below the line production costs, and everything else. You're talking about 60 plus million that was above the line. Woo! This is not but an Oscar film. This is what they built this for. Yikes. Not a lot of rival studios have the cojones nowadays to shoot in California, and this movie provided jobs. Amen. The problem is there's not going to be enough of these kind of films that are going to do this in California, because not everything is going to run out there and go, oh, you know what? We're going to spend 20% more than we should to film this movie to placate California or whatever, as opposed to going to shoot it for somewhere else and spend more than we should. But we're making an artsy-fartsy film, and we're going to do it in California, and we're going to make a big statement that we're doing it in California because it raises, let's face it, it probably raises the prospects of Oscars for a movie like this. Because that's all the voting members out there are that's probably something that they're going to champion. And that's going to give it some street cred and some awards cred above and beyond what it's already got. I don't know. Y'all planning to see this? Did anybody see it? I still have my, hang on a second. I still have the wrong, let me get the live chat back up over here so I can see it. Let me know if y'all saw it. I saw somebody mention Flash still out there. What's up, Flash? Good to see you. I didn't get home till late last night, dude. Y'all were already well into the show. Yeah. Oh, there it bombed. Yeah, talking about one battle after another. Yeah, Flash. Did you hear? I was reading some stuff on that this morning. That this was. I didn't know this until this weekend when the thing came out, and I guess the reviews came out of how very it had a very, very, very overt leftward political slant underlying this whole film and all the characters, which I didn't get from seeing the trailers in the movie theater. I think the first time I saw it might have been during F1, I want to say. So, and look, some people said they like. I haven't seen it. I haven't seen it, so I'm not trying to sit here and say the movie was bad, because I don't know. I'm just saying this is what I read, because people were making comments about how, I got to go back and find it. That this was very, very politically jaded. It was, very, very politically jaded. And that may be right, that may be wrong. I don't know. But yeah, this movie's really going to have to hang out. Because again, I don't see how that $200 million that they're talking about here as a quote unquote break even on the grosses. That doesn't include whatever Warner Brothers would have spent to market this thing. Which again, I'm not saying was necessarily a whole lot. I mean, I really hadn't seen much about this thing apart from trailers before films, like F1. Like they advertised this a lot this summer with trailers, with pre-movie trailers. And maybe that was enough for a movie like this. Again, this is not a major thing. Okay, so you saw what I saw then, Flash. You read that it glorifies attacking law enforcement. I did see something about that. It's probably a little tone deaf right now. So it's going to be tough. Again, 200 million. I mean, even if we play it really conservatively and we say, maybe they had, maybe they spent 40 to 50 million and that was about it on everything around the world in global marketing. It's still going to need to push its way through. Now, here's the thing. If Warner Brothers is truly going to leave this out there, and let's pretend for a second here that this movie really is going to speak to the people out there on the left coast, right? The blue strip, from Portland on down, Seattle, Portland on down to San Diego. Well, San Diego's not really as blue. San Diego's still a lot more Republicans in San Diego. You get down to L.A. though. If it's going to play well on the coast, if it's going to play well in places like New York and Chicago with the elitist, the blue elitists out there, the movie could hang around. I mean, look, don't put $200 million off the table yet here, or here yet. Pardon me. Don't put it off the table yet. This is one of those things that could potentially leg out. But this could be sneaky. So we'll see what happens. But I mean, in terms of its opening weekend, yeah, like I said, at first I'm looking at this going, hey, 48 million, that ain't bad. That ain't bad. This is not a big IP superhero action major franchise with a huge file. It's a brand new property. It's a kind of a, and then I saw the budget. And then I saw 140 million. I was like, dude, come on. Come on, man. Whoo. But again, from the looks of it, Warner Brothers just kind of they let Anderson do his thing because they were like, this will be, we'll have a good chance of winning a lot of Oscars, a lot of the major Oscars this year with this kind of film. That's what's I think in the back of Zaslav's mind with this. Just looking at it, because they're already talking about it for Oscars and Academy Awards and all this kind of crap. Let's see. All right, let me grab some of these super chats here, and then I want to talk about, speaking of Warner Brothers. Not that one. Dang it. You know what? Let me just pull that out, and then I'll read. I spend so much time trying to set these buttons up where I want them, and then, hang on, group layout. I had one that was just me. All right, I'm going to keep using that one for right now. That's driving me nuts. All right. Let's see. We got that one. And yeah, we got to talk about the Star Wars thing. This was too hilarious yesterday. Star Wars 10. Ray. No, guys. Seriously, I swears it. Should I do that as...
Star Wars 10? Ray? No, guys, seriously, I swears it.
Not my best Smeagol. I kind of had a feeling that was going to be a little rough. So I had to have that Gatorade before. My throat is sore.
My precious.
Hey, StreamYard, no one puts VR in the corner. Araxis for 2. Lurker Tax from 2 Penny Puppet. Thank you very much. Doge for 2. Rest in peace. Church President Russell Nelson. Go BYU. Go Brigham Young. Church President Russell Nelson. I don't know who that is. Oh, is this related to was this the church that was attacked this morning? Was that part of that? You're going to have to help me with that one. Pokey for 10, with regards to Demon Slayer, you mean to tell me that when you take care of an IP, produce quality content, and control your costs, you can make a profitable movie? Get out of here. Right? So crazy. It's amazing. Timu Outlaw on the Run, John Pimpia. I love this. For $2.79. That picture Timu take. Oh, good Lord. What did Yoda say when he saw himself in 4K? 8? God. I actually got to do it in his voice.
HD am I?
I got to give it that. That was pretty good. You get it? HDMI, like an HDMI cable.
HDMI.
48 million. Have they finally found the modern audience? They're hoping to. But look, good on the marketing for this picture because they really did. They seemingly presented it as just, kind of a fun action crime movie. Some humor in it. I mean, the one line in the trailer that I saw that kind of makes you roll your eyes. Like DiCaprio's daughter is like, my friends are coming in, and he's like, what are they a he or a she? And the daughter's like, they're a they, them. And he's like, oh, okay. I just want to know so I can be polite. And I kind of rolled my eyes, and at the same time thinking, all right, they put a stupid Gen Z joke in there. All right. The rest of it looked like just a normal kind of weird crime action funny movie. Apparently, the whole movie is kind of replete with that sort of mantra. So that's what I'd been hearing all weekend since it came out. Mark Hot for 10. I didn't know if you talked about this. Did you hear what Bruce Boxleitner said about Tron Ares? Go see this film in theaters. Most important in the opening weekend. I didn't. I mean, I'm guessing he said go see this film in theaters. Well, sure, good for Bruce Boxleitner for backing up. I mean, he started in the original one. I wanted to talk about that. I mean, again, right now the box office projections for Tron Ares, I have them here. They haven't moved a lot in the last few weeks. I hate to tell you, it's not looking real hot. I mean, which I honestly I didn't think it would. Tron is not a big IP. Tron just never. I mean, I don't care if you like Tron or not. No offense. I mean, I enjoyed it, but it's never been a huge movie. Even the last one they did was not super huge in the theaters. It is what it is. J.H. Schwalbach for $20. Totally off topic. Good logic. Geeks and Gamers Jeremy and Valiant equals $500. Talk football to break the ice. Just a reminder, please. Okay, because I was over in Good Logic's chat the other week. I hadn't seen him in a while. So yeah, the suggestion was that Joe and I and Jeremy, Geeks and Gamers, do a live stream together. That would be a lot of fun. I'm all for it. The issue is going to be getting the three of us together at the same time. That is not easy. Trust me. It's hard enough for me and Jeremy to get together at the same time. And we chit-chat back and forth, texting, somewhat regularly. It's hard. Like, I've talked to Jeremy about trying to come hop by the show. He's always busy. He's on the move. I'm busy during the day. I'm on the move too. I'm hoping to get to see the guys in the next week or two. So hopefully we'll be able to make that happen. But I don't know. I'm going to try. I would love to get a live stream. Love to do it. Cyrano for 10. Great quote from Senator Kennedy. I'm not saying you're the dumbest individual here. Just pray that the dumbest doesn't die anytime soon. Is that a new one? I don't remember that. I don't remember that quote. All right, because you threw in that one. Senator Kennedy is our senator here from the great state of Louisiana. Let's see, where's my Kennedy bit? I got to rearrange these. Here we go.
I've got a lot of friends who are Democrats, and they haven't asked me for advice, but if I did, I'd tell them, look, you just got to try harder not to suck.
Hopefully y'all heard that one. I still had my volume off out here. I'll play that one more time in case
I've got a lot of friends who are Democrats, and they haven't asked me for advice, but if I did, I'd tell them, look, you just got to try harder not to suck.
Yep. All right. Since I mentioned Tron Ares, that just came up. Somebody brought that up in the chat. I'm glad you mentioned that because I might have forgot this because I want to get to the Star Wars story as well because this is we can all have a good laugh at this one. Honestly, this Star Wars thing that came up yesterday actually did kind of surprise me. I really didn't see that one coming. We'll get there. All right, so this is from Box Office Theory. Sean Robbins, formerly of Box Office Pro out there, does his own thing now. So make sure you go visit make sure you go visit him on Box Office Theory. He's got his webpage. He's also got a Substack you can subscribe to. Star Wars, no, not really back. But we're going to talk about it because there's something. This is really, it's funny. Poor Josh, Den of Nerds, yesterday morning had a full meltdown on a live stream. I had to watch it. I hadn't caught a Den of Nerds live show in ages because Josh usually goes off at like 9 or 10 o'clock in the morning. I'm usually at the office. I'm busy. I'm doing stuff. I'm not watching live shows during the daytime anymore like I used to, like right after COVID when I started on YouTube. It's a little bit different. Things are back in full swing. But he did one Saturday morning because he was so upset about, he was confirming rumors that had leaked out there the night before, and he was sitting on it. And anyway, we'll get there. And yeah. All right. So we look down here. What I want to call your attention to, Taylor Swift. And look, I'm not a Taylor Swift fan, not a Swiftie, but you know what? Her politics are dumber than a bag of hammers. But I'm going to give Taylor Swift some props when it comes to pumping product into theaters, which we're fans of theatrical exhibition here. We're huge fans of physical media, buying your 4K disc. We're huge fans of theatrical exhibition. Taylor Swift has been a good friend of theaters. She's doing another gig with AMC, and she's sending her latest concert, professionally filmed, is going back to theaters this coming weekend. And they're estimating right now that Taylor Swift, the release party of a Showgirl, that's the name of the album, Showgirl or something. They're estimating something like $40 to $50 million next weekend for the Taylor Swift thing. Good for theaters. I won't be there, but good for theaters. I'm happy for theaters. That's going to bring them a lot of really quality business. They're going to sell a lot of concessions. You're going to get a lot of the wine moms showing up there for the theaters that have a bar, which a number of them do these days. Bar and restaurant in them, deliver food to your seat. They'll do great. They'll make a ton of money, and I could not be happier I know, Taylor Swift. Oh God. I know. Again, I'm just happy for theaters. That's all. Don't overread into it. We're gonna find out if Michelle from Force of Light is gonna go see Taylor Swift. I know Michelle is gonna go see Taylor Swift next weekend. I should have called her before the show today. Gotten her on here to confess on a Sunday. Come to church, Michelle, and confess you're gonna go see Taylor Swift next weekend, because I know Michelle's a Swiftie. She's told y'all she's a Swiftie. I'm picking on her right now. I'm sure she's going to do it. I'm sure she's going to do it. All right, look down here, Tron Ares. And can I not blow this up anymore? It's frustrating. Wish I could download this. Okay, I can't. Okay. Look down here at Tron Ares. It's I scrolled too far, did I not? Right here. 1010. I don't know if y'all can see this. See where my cursor's at? Right there. Now y'all can see that. Tron Ares, Disney, 42 to 55 million. That's the current estimate. If you look over here, 117 million is Sean's current total box office leg out midpoint. So he's got it as low as 105 right here, 105 million right here. And then on the high end, 145. Now, again, these are estimates based on data that is available now. That is subject to change, of course. Okay? That's it. Bruh. A lot. Somebody put up $500 to make me to go see Snow White. It would have to be that. I can't go lower than Snow White. I'm not getting punished for that. But y'all would get one hell of a funny ass video after, probably. So I'd probably have to get drunk to sit through that shit. I'm just telling you. I'll put it this way, like if I had to do it, I would go, because I'm pretty sure my kids, well, my oldest doesn't care about Taylor Swift so much, but my almost 18-year-old probably is going to go see it. So I'd probably wind up going with her. So, yeah. Tron Ares, 42 to 55 million. Okay. That's what we're looking at. Now, let's be reasonable and say that it doubles its total domestic run on the global side. Or at least international and domestic line up. So if they're saying 140 million, let's go 150 million, and let's say another 150 million on international. And that might be highballing. I don't think Tron is a particularly internationally popular thing. That's $300 million. We still don't know exactly what the production budget on this is, but again, this is a Disney production. It's not going to be cheap. It's going to be more expensive than One Battle After Another with DiCaprio. It's going to be more than the $140 million they spent on that, I promise you. Which is going to be problematic. Now, here's what I find to be a little bit iffy. This is September 18th. So this is now 10 days old. What we just looked at with Sean Robbins was about, I think that just came out 2 days ago on Friday. The numbers haven't changed in the last week or so. Now, again, it's not like this movie is that far away. This movie gets released it's 2 weeks from today. Okay, we should already be seeing signs of marketing for this next Disney film ramping up. We're not seeing it yet. It should start happening this week in fervor for whatever they are doing. But Tron Ares, looking at always right when I start. Deadline's pop-ups have gotten atrocious. I mean, atrocious. I never had pop-ups on Deadline 6 months ago like I do now. Tron Ares light cycles onto tracking with 44 million U.S. opening. Tickets went on sale. This is right after tickets went on sale. This is September 18th. Okay, setting for an October 10th opening. While that might sound like a similar start to the previous 2010 movie Tron Legacy, which bowed to 44 million, and again, that's 44 million 15 years ago. Again, the same number of butts in seats in 2025 from Tron Legacy in 2010 would be like almost $80 million. It'd be like 75 to maybe $80 million. Tickets have exploded in the last 15 years. Again, we're up like 40%. Actually, probably a little bit more than that now. Since before COVID, since 2019. This is 2010. Again, because more people, there are far more IMAX screens today. There are far more PLF, premium large format screens today. People drive into those things. So the average ticket prices are much higher. And this is a movie that is going to grift into IMAX. We're talking about, $22 tickets for IMAX. There is potential for upside. Disney better hope there is. Of late on tracking, IMAX fueled tent poles like F1, which was, my opinion, best movie of the year. The Conjuring, Last Rites, and Weapons have seen their actual box office dollars leaving their forecasts in the dust. This is true. Of course, F1 Tron is going to have to be a hell of a movie. F1 was an excellent movie. Tron is going to have to be up there for that to happen, right? Disney movies don't... Name a Disney movie that has really surprised lately that was a true, shocking audience pleaser that got audiences, normies, to get up and go see it and make a bunch more money than it was supposed to? I can't think of one. Right? We expected, to make my point, we expected Lilo and Stitch to do what it did at the box office. Before it came out, we were saying it should be a $1 billion movie. It did $1 billion. Right? Nobody expected F1 to fire off $650 million, wherever the hell it is now. Tickets went on sale 2 weeks ago, and so far pre-sales are $2 million. Now, this is where it gets scary. We hear that the comps being Gladiator 2, F1, that would be great if it legs out like F1. That would be fabulous. And Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. Two of those three comps are absolutely not what you want to be getting compared to right now. The marketing campaign posted a big splash at San Diego Comic-Con, which I think was a couple weeks ago. LA Comic-Con is going on right now. And Chris Gore, by the way, once again, this year got screwed. LA Comic-Con didn't want Chris over there, but they wanted gay things in sports or whatever. We have a clip. Verbal Riot and that Star Wars girl were there this weekend just laughing at how bad things were. I might try to pull it up here in a little bit. But it's just coming into effect with spots during NFL and college football games. Now, of course, these spots are largely coming on ESPN because this is a Disney property. ESPN is owned by Disney, right? And again, to remind folks, Disney does not get to run ads on things like ESPN for free, right? There's still a cost involved there because that 30-second spot that they give to, not really give, but they assign to Tron Ares is a 30-second spot that Ford would have gladly paid $1 million for to advertise their new F-150 or their new Expedition, right? College football, NFL, the hottest properties on television. The question is, does that audience that's watching college football and the NFL, is that audience at all going to be interested in seeing a third entry in a Tron series? I don't know. I don't know. Okay. And they talk about some of the awareness for this. Again, we're still early, but the point is that this thing, my concern is, and this is why I said earlier, I don't think Disney's going to have, Disney's not going to get back over the hump until Avatar in terms of being the biggest distribution box office of the year. And again, they don't make Avatar. James Cameron makes Avatar, right? Speaking of, I think I had an article for that. Well, I thought I did. Avatar, well, I'll put it this way. Avatar had, I'll go back to the main screen because I saw it on here. And like I said, I'll try to do the Jimmy Kimmel thing on Renegade Nation maybe later this evening for a little bit. It was just to get through more of this than I thought. We had a new trailer. It was on the main page earlier. Oh, there it is. New trailer for Avatar: Fire and Ash. This is really the last major thing in Disney's pocket this year, at least in terms of retail box office power. Again, I'm not playing the trailer here. You can go watch it, you dang self. But the reality is, even Deadline has to remind folks that it's still a James Cameron film. And James Cameron is still going to be walking away with the big money from this one. So, bear that in mind. But that's what kind of talked about this headline here that I wanted to bring up real quickly. And then we're going to get to the Star Wars thing. Warner Brothers, the first studio this year to cross $4 billion at the global box office. And what a year Warner Brothers is having. Again, in terms of profitability, even where you have, a movie in there like Superman that may not have quite made it over the hump at the box office in terms of recovering every penny of its production and marketing costs, right? But it like we talked about before, almost assuredly made up the gap with PVOD, and then it still has a lot of shelf life ahead of it for streaming because Warner Brothers doesn't consume all of its own stuff forever. Again, we've seen a lot of the DC stuff find its way over to Netflix in the last year or so. So they're collecting licensing dollars from that kind of thing. So Warner Brothers really having a hell of a year, and congratulations. As we said before, this is the year of David Zaslav, and what we're seeing coming out this year is really almost the entire slate, I believe, if not the entire slate, that was put in motion in 2022, 23, 24, and now, because these things take years to gestate and come to fruition. So we're seeing a year now where really everything that's coming out and the successes that Warner Brothers is having is, I think this is really the first full year of projects that would have been greenlit since Zaslav came in, or almost all of it. It's the first time that Warner Brothers has crossed $4 billion since 2019. The studio pulled it off with 11 theatrical releases versus 20 titles 6 years ago, which, again, that ought to tell you something. I mean, that's the power of quality. Broken out, Warner Brothers has taken in 1.8 roughly billion at the domestic box office, another 2.2 billion abroad. And this is with the Leonardo DiCaprio movie One Battle After Another and its global bow just beginning. Superman proved to fire off the new DC under Chiefs James Gunn and Peter Safran, while the original gambles that Michael DeLuca and Pam Abdi have made at the larger Warner Brothers Motion Picture Group with Sinners and F1, as well as a new IP, a Minecraft movie, have been a smashing success. Warner Brothers' genre label New Line achieved 5 consecutive weekends at number 1, setting a record for the label. Don't Say Horror didn't work because the Richard Brenner-run New Line minted more than $1 billion this year from scary movies, which is insane. Final Destination, The Conjuring, and of course there were Sinners in there too. Warner Brothers pulled off some other unique records. For example, the first time since 2009, it's the only studio to have 2 movies gross over $40 million on the same weekend with Sinners and Minecraft. That's a crazy stat. Warner Brothers top distributor for April, but I mean, you look down here, the Warner Brothers top theatrical releases. I mean, Minecraft movie. And again, nobody expected the Minecraft movie to do what it did. No, remember the Minecraft movie, Warner Brothers, even themselves, they were estimating something like, was it 60 million opening weekend? And that was 2 days before the movie opened. 2 days. By Sunday, it was over 160. They were off by nearly 3x. F1 in tandem with Apple for 624 million, which is outstanding. And a lot of that was, there was 400 million of that was international. And again, because of the subject matter, it's F1 racing. F1 really isn't big in North America. NASCAR is what's big here. Superman for 615, Conjuring The Last for 403, and that's still going. That's still going. That movie, and again, that doesn't include this weekend. We had the Conjuring numbers up earlier. It's at 430? What did we say? 433? Sinners at 366. Final Destination, Bloodlines, Weapons, Mickey 17, which that was a mess for him, but nonetheless, it's on the list. Here's the thing. When you look at this Minecraft movie for Warner Brothers, production budget, folks, do y'all remember? It was like 120 million, something like that. 120 million for that. Probably a lot of that was Jack Black and Jason Momoa. And then you had F1 out there that Warner Brothers was a distributor for. Apple was the one that wrote the check to basically buy the film from the people making it. They got involved in it. And I think the check Apple wrote for it was $200 million. But again, We always remind folks, when Apple goes out there, they don't have like their own in-house studio. When Apple goes out there and strokes the check for these things, they're buying the rights to own it forever. They're not, it's not like Netflix where they write a check to Universal and say, hey, we want to rent Jurassic World for a year, right? They're renting it. Apple's buying these things. And they got Warner Brothers in to do theatrical distribution since Apple doesn't have their own theatrical distribution. But that was a huge success for Warner Brothers, even though it's technically an Apple film. Kind of like James Cameron's Avatar is James Cameron, but Disney does distribution. F1 is Apple's movie with Warner's doing distribution. And they're also going to be doing the physical medium for them too. Superman, obviously, that's purely Warner Brothers. That was probably the most expensive one on the list, right? $225 million for Superman. Conjuring: The Last Rites, about $50 to $55 million. Sinners reportedly had a budget of $90 million, which I still cannot believe. Final Destination: Bloodlines, again, around $50 million, I believe. And most of that was spent in that amazing opening scene. That incredible opening scene at the Sky, the Sky Needle restaurant. Just one of the coolest horror movie scenes I've ever watched in my life. Weapons. Warner Brothers wrote a check, bought it from Craigler, $38 million. Here's your money. I mean, they made bank on that. Mickey 17, I think they lost money on. But my point is this. When you start looking at what Warner Brothers, this list that they're involved in, and you really start adding up what they spent, like what they came out of pocket with to make these films. There's a lot of horror movies in here that cost, $40 to $50 million. Maybe when he got 90. F1, again, Apple paid for that. Warner Brothers had to pay to market into the U.S. And Final Destination 50, Weapons 30, 35. Here's the thing. Take the Disney list and replace Minecraft with Lilo and Stitch. And replace F1 with Fantastic Four. And then replace Superman with Thunderbolts. And The Conjuring with Captain America DEI. Whatever. Captain Falcon DEI. Replace Sinners with Snow White. You get where I'm going with this, right? Thunderbolts and all that kind of stuff. And then look at the box offices, and then understand the problem is that each one of those movies I just rattled off cost $200+ million. And a lot of them cost $300+ million. That's the difference. The profitability metric. That's what makes this. This is what makes this number that Warner Brothers is in the lead with, this $4 billion at the global box office, so much more impressive for me. So much more impressive. Because they spent far less to get here than Disney did. Lightning Sketch Productions for $5. How did you download the new Superman to make your censored version? You're going to have to help me with that one. To make your censored version of what? I don't know. I didn't download Superman. I have no idea. Araxos for 2. Packing protons, you have been summoned. Oh, God. Archer Merchant for 5. I feel like I've witnessed Iser pulling a Wrath of Khan, telling Iger that he's laughing at the superior intellect, and Iger said, full agenda ahead into doom. Yeah. Sabrina's Espresso says, last week you intentionally muted yourself to avoid giving Swift credit. I like when special events show up at the box office. Everyone's mind melts. Thank you. Heisman says, for 5 months, do you believe that Disney will never change their ways? Will Netflix buy Warner Brothers? Or do you think Universal should buy Warner Brothers? Will anything change Hollywood? I don't know. The offer from Paramount, or the alleged offer from Paramount, opened the floodgates. No surprise. Netflix wants to come in. I can't see that happening with Universal. There's too much there. Warner Brothers has an enormous music distribution group, licensing group. Universal has an enormous music distribution licensing group. That would create like the biggest owner of music rights, I think, out there. You put Warner Brothers and Universal, UMG, together. Holy crap. That's going to be big. And then that's a lot of cable stations. And not to say that CBS, it's really hard to say. I'll be honest with you. It's really, really hard to say. Universal, I can see why people think it makes sense, because Universal already has a relationship with Warner Brothers for some major theme park rights, namely Harry Potter. Right? So I can see how that would make sense. I think we're a little early in the game. This is one of those, we're going to have to wait to see what shakes out. And even when something does shake out, remember the caveat is that it still has to go through some type of regulatory approval process with the Federal Trade Commission, right? The FCC may or may not have to get involved depending on who's buying it. Now, if it's, but I wouldn't tend to not think so. I mean, unless Warner Brothers buys somebody else, but I don't think the FCC would be involved in it, but the Federal Trade Commission would be. So Netflix, maybe. I'm going to tell you what, Netflix buying it would terrify me, because Netflix has been so reluctant to afford anything a theatrical release. I think Netflix buying out Warner Brothers would be bad, frankly. I think it'd be very, very bad. I wouldn't like that. Unless there would be something in the sale, in the agreement, that they would not alter the trajectory for theatrical releases. But when you look at HBO Max and you look at Netflix itself as streaming services, you're talking about two of the largest streaming services that would be merging. See, this is the problem. When you look at Paramount Plus, it's decent, but it's not a massive scale streaming service like Netflix. And neither is Warner Brothers. And the argument could be made, well, Paramount's got, I don't know, allegedly, 70 million subscribers. And Warner Brothers has, I think, about the same for HBO Max. And they could say, well, look, the subscribership, there's already a lot of overlap here. This library and that library, and, but if Netflix were to gobble up somebody that's already got 70 million subscribers like this, and all that library that goes with it, I don't know. I don't think that would probably be pretty scrutinized, because streaming is the future wave, right? That's where people are going. Archer, I agree. I don't feel Netflix would have an ideal direction to take it, other than what? Outsourcing? Yeah, I don't think Netflix is a good fit. Netflix is, look, I think one of the reasons that Netflix has done a good job of becoming what Netflix is because they have been a neutral third party. Sony will work with Netflix. Universal will work with Netflix. Warner Brothers will work with Netflix. Paramount has worked with Netflix, right? Because it's an independent third party. We are the biggest streamer out there. We are where the world goes to see what's on TV. That is who Netflix is. Nobody goes and shops Disney Plus. Nobody wakes up in the morning and say, let's see what's on Disney Plus this weekend. But they do that with Netflix. And they don't do that with Paramount or HBO Max or Peacock, really, especially Peacock. Nobody does that with those streaming services either, anywhere near the degree that they do with Netflix. And I think that gives Netflix a lot of clout and power. And that's one of the reasons why I think if Netflix were wise, they would hold that, hey, you know what? We're the third party guy. Because what benefits Netflix the most? What benefits Netflix the most is if some of these other streaming services out there just die. Because Netflix is trying to expand the scale and or the scope or the amount of time, rather, that their audience spends watching Netflix. The best way for that to happen is for the choices out there to naturally just kind of go away. And I don't think Netflix is necessarily in a great position to buy it out. And then once they have these IPs, what are you going to do with them? Think about if they bought this up and then all of a sudden everything in Warner Brothers' arsenal, DC and everything else, nothing comes out in the theater anymore. And it just gets dumped on Netflix. It is going to erode the value of those properties over time. Right? It just will. It's not the same thing as having it, especially with big major IPs like that. Especially when it comes to third-party merchandising contracts, right? Doesn't matter how good a show does on Netflix, if it's a Netflix original property, the chances that it's going to sell any mass amount of merchandise appeal is far lessened than a big movie event. Like theatrical. That's the difference. All right. Enough about that crap. All right. So I want to pull up this. We got to talk about the Star Wars thing because this is too funny. And I sent this to Coach and Nick the other day over at Echo Base yesterday when I saw this. I don't know if they got to make a video last night. Coach said he was going to try to make a video on it that day. And I guess I was traveling till late last night, so I don't know if he got to it or not. But I want to scroll back. Let me find it. Oh, it's buried back here. Buried back here. Okay. All right, I gotta switch my screens here so I can pull up the right thing. Okay. So this is how this started. And I'm going to go back, and it was funny because poor Josh went through this entire grieving process in real time. And if his live stream is still up from yesterday morning, you're free to go watch it. It was great. He was angry, justifiably so. So here we go. The original thing is this. The movie Starfighter, right? And this is the newest one. This is the one that's actually, like, this is really happening. This is the one with Amy Adams. Like, we have a script, we have a cast. We have Ryan Gosling, we have Amy Adams. This is a thing. It is in physical production. Now, we didn't know exactly what this movie was going to entail, okay? There were guesses, there are rumors, there's innuendo, right? But what is really going to happen? Well, now there's several sources out there. Daniel RPK, I think, was one. John Rocca was another one. I know not everybody in this audience likes some of those names I just now mentioned. And that's fine, but I do respect the information that they get from time to time, and a lot of it turns out to be good. So, again, we call balls and strikes. We're going to be fair as fair can be. The movie Starfighter has a plot where Ryan Gosling protects the, quote, son of a female Jedi. Amy Adams plays the female Jedi. And Flynn Gray plays her son, a Force sensitive. This term, this Force sensitive thing gets thrown around for everything now. Ryan's character is not Force sensitive, but rushes around to protect the son from the villain. This is literally the plot of The Mandalorian. They've made another Mandalorian. That's not the worst part. They don't know what else to do, right? They do not know what else to do with this. And this is the Sean Levy, right? The Deadpool and Wolverine Sean Levy movie. And look, let me add to it, and then we'll go into it, because I know y'all probably gonna have a lot to say about this. Josh from Den of Nerds says, okay, this is true, because he had heard from his own sources that have been very, very reliable, as he's described in the past, and have been bang on. And I think he said this is the absolute best source he's got. I'm paraphrasing, but the one he trusts with the highest degree of trust possible. Okay, this is true, and they're on a mission from Amy Adams to take the kid to Rey Palpatine. That's right, Star Wars fans. The cool Starfighter movie from Deadpool and Wolverine director Sean Levy is taking the Force-sensitive kid to effing Rey Skywalker. I effing hate it here. You can see clearly that Josh is quite enthused that this is where the plot for this movie's going. Ladies and gentlemen, it's another Rey Skywalker movie. And absent anything to contradict this at this point, I'm going to go ahead and take this as gospel. I got no reason not to. Yes. Yes. I can see the audience is already thrilled. So what we've got here, not only is it we did The Mandalorian and that worked. 5 years ago, mind you. We're going to take the exact same story with the exact same plot with a bounty hunter, Han Solo type bounty hunter, kind of cool dude that is going to be hired to go rescue a kid, or spends the show or the story trying to get a kid who is being hunted because he's Force sensitive or a Jedi from point A to point B. This is Starfighter. And Amy Adams is the mother. Now, I messaged, or I posted on Josh's thing, okay, so tell me, what, is this going to be Mara Jade? She's a redhead, right? This is Mara Jade. No word on that, or at least the word is right now, no. But again, where does this kid come from? This kid comes from Luke's Jedi Academy that we saw in Mando, or the beginnings of it with Grogu in Mando. That's how this is all fit together. So this takes place in a universe, not only that is obviously still tied to the Disney sequel trilogy, but is going to have Daisy Ridley in it. But is you going to have Rey Skywalker in it? And my next question was, what type of impact does this then have on the alleged Charmaine Obaid-Chinoy? You remember her? I enjoy making men uncomfortable. Her, that one, that bitch. Yeah. The one that they went, remember, that was the movie that Damon Lindelof was writing, and then Stephen Knight was writing, and then 27 other people were in there and writing, and the last person left at the end of the day was Charmaine Obaid-Chinoy, because, Kathleen Kennedy's never going to terminate somebody like Charmaine Obaid-Chinoy because she hates men, and she wants to make this a girl power movie, and Charmaine isn't going to quit because she's got nowhere else to go, because she makes, $2 movies, and she makes $5 documentaries. The multi-million-dollar paycheck she's eventually hoping to get from doing a big $300-400 million Star Wars movie is more money than she'll ever make in the rest of her life. So she ain't going anywhere. So the question is, well, wait a minute. I thought we were making a Rey movie with her, Charmaine, but now Rey is a part of this movie, the Sean Levy movie, with Ryan Gosling and Amy Adams. Here's my thought process. Y'all tell me. Because, and I think Josh had some other posts. Let me scroll back here, and y'all go sub to Den of Nerds, please. He was really. I'm gonna go backwards on this. I'm gonna go. Yeah, this is where it started. Okay. It started with this. If the rumor about Amy Adams being a Jedi in Starfighter is true, then that means she's a survivor of Luke's Jedi Order. And then Josh reposted it with, not only did Raka get this right, but I know even more. And it's basically the worst version of this movie that I could imagine. That's how it started. And then this came out that we just read, and Josh was like, oh, well, somebody else let the cat out the bag, so now I can talk about it because I didn't leak it. Now I'm talking about what somebody else said, and all I can say is that, yes, this is true. I've heard the exact same thing from a source I trust. The future of Star Wars is all Rey, so you better just straddle up. My response was, thanks, I'll find another horse. And he went live. If you want to see, oh wait, did he? Is this a clip of it? Wait, do I have this shared? Wait, I think I do. Let's see. Hang on a second. Let me get the headphones in to make sure that I don't know what he clipped out of this. He was such a happy camper.
What the fuck, what? So anyway,
that was basically the stream. Oh man. And I love his. I'm still mad about it. I'm feeling better, but honestly, this was finally this morning. I still can't believe it's happening. It's true that I've been hearing that Rey is the centerpiece of the future for Star Wars content for years, but I also know not everyone over there thinks that this is a good idea. And this is what I wanted to talk about. It's shocking to me, he says, that the entire plot of Starfighter is basically a primer to get the new Force-sensitive character to Rey. Like, that's too much. Ultimately, the reason I hate this is because it's not organic. There's just zero chance Sean Levy was sitting around thinking of a movie that led to Rey. And this was the point he made during his live show yesterday that I thought was really, really, really brilliant. Okay? This is a movie corporation to try and prop up and fix the character they created. This is all about building a bridge from the sequels to more movies. Sean's movie could still be awesome, but Star Wars should be more than this. And let me tell you what I'm talking about this. I thought his point yesterday on the show, Saturday morning at like 10 a.m., I thought that was the best thing he nailed, was that he was frustrated that, Sean Levy had done interviews, I think especially following the success of Deadpool and Wolverine, talking about how this was such a thing for him. He was, he's a long time, fan of Star Wars since he was a little kid, like a lot of us were. And he always had this vision in his head, and he wanted to make a Star Wars movie, and he wanted to do this and that, and he had these ideas in his head. And you're telling me that Sean Levy finally gets his shot, and his dream is to make a Rey Palpatine movie? No, I bet it wasn't. But once again, this is something that has been forced upon a director like this. This is par for the course. This is how Star Wars, this is how the girls at Lucasfilm have always operated. This is how Kathleen Kennedy has always operated. Y'all, please smash the like button. We're almost to 400 likes. I'd love to get to 500 before we bail. We got more to do. But my point is that he kind of hits it home right here. Right here with this one. He really hits it home. I mean, we talked about this with Stephen Knight and all these other people that have come and gone, all these names we've heard about, right? And we've seen it happen at Marvel too, right? They get these, we're going to get these really, big name, we're going to get this guy, we're going to get that guy's going to write it and all this. And then the movie comes out and it's like, man, that movie sucked because it was a Kevin Feige movie. It doesn't matter who you have attached to it. It's still Feige. The same thing is true here. The ridiculous nature of, and especially in 2025, and I'm going to get to the part where I'm like, I'm still kind of in disbelief at this. And I know you guys are thinking, Valiant, you're crazy. You should have known this was coming. They were always going to, yeah, and I get that. But there's part of me that's still in disbelief. And what I mean by that is that, well, give me a second here. I'll get down to that. The thing, though, here with Sean Levy is that I don't believe for a second, and I'm going to switch this down because I want to, was I doing a screen share? No. There we go. I wanted to move this. It was a little bit easier for me to read on the lower monitor. What I wanted to get to on this idea, though, with Ray Palpatine here and Sean Lee, I don't believe for a second that this right here is what he wanted to do. He came in there. He probably had a really good idea. He probably had something fun. And he wanted to just make a Star Wars movie. And then at some point in the process, I'm sure Kennedy or the people with that maybe higher than her came in and decided that, okay, you can do whatever you want, but whatever you do, Rey's got to be in it. And she's got to be featured. I mean, that's pretty horrific. But here's the thing, and assuming all of this is true, and again, I have no reason to believe it isn't. To me, even in 2025, and this is the key thing, I find it really, really. Well, actually, you know what? Let me go back and do it that way. Come on. There. I find it even spectacular in 2025 that Disney would do this. I understand why they're doing it. I understand why KK wants to do it. I don't know. This is the point. This is the level of absolute disconnect from the audience that the Walt Disney Company constantly suffers from. I mean, the hilariously bad disconnect from the audience. That this would even be considered and is probably happening right now. Like, this is probably, she's going to be on set. They are filming this thing that apparently where Rey is going to be a major part of it. I just, they cannot read the room. And this is the hubris that they face, is that they should know by now, right? You know what? Look, we don't have to, I don't expect Disney to come out and retcon anything at this point and say, oh, it was all fake. Never mind, start over. But at the very least, just pretend like it never happened. You could make Star Wars like Mandalorian and Grogu, right? They're going to try to give the normies out there a Star Wars movie that they think the normies can wrap their heads around. And a lot of that is pretending that season 3 of Mando never happened. Pretending that the Book of Boba Fett never happened. 2 terrible shows never happened. Let's try to pretend that The Acolyte never happened. And all the other stuff that people either didn't watch, didn't care about, or they did see and it drove them away. Everything has been downhill since Mando season 2, and that was 5 years ago now. 5 years. It'll be 5.5 years since Mando season 2 that this new movie will come out, Mando and Grogu, next summer. And then this thing is supposed to come out in 2027, right? It truly boggles the mind that they still want to force this character into existence, knowing everything they know. Because the evidence out there, the data out there, forget how we feel about it. The commercial viability of this character, it's irrefutably bad. There's nothing here. And it's frustrating to me that you're going to have, Disney still going down the road of spending, $300+ million shooting this film, and they've already handicapped it. They've already, I mean, apart from, and in 2025, I can't believe we say this, but apart from the fact that the name Star Wars right now is already handicapped, you're going to push it to the next level by putting this character back in a movie. Again, this wasn't the Rey movie. This is not the Rey movie. This is not the Charmin Obaid-Chinoy, the Rey Skywalker movie. This is not episode 10 or whatever, or it was not intended to be. This was just Sean Levy was doing Starfighter. He was doing a shoot 'em up Starfighter movie that is in the Star Wars universe. But he's literally come up with his lifelong dream, we are to believe, was to come up with The Mandalorian, the exact same story as The Mandalorian, but with Rey instead of Luke at the end. Right? They brought Grogu. Luke shows up. Right? No. This time we have another young, in danger Jedi. But this time, instead of Luke showing up in Red 5 at the end of Season 2 and Mando, this time it's Rey. Piss off. It's just... Again, I am still astonished in 2025 that this is the road. I mean, you can say what you want, but at some point you got to realize my business brain kicks in. And you got to, I mean, at some point, no matter how steeped in this that they are, that they're still willing to play with fire like this when it's clear that this is not going to, it never has worked and it's not going to work. But somewhere in Disney's mind right now, and maybe Alan Bergman, okay, and of course Kennedy too, no doubt. Kennedy is not a visionary. I'm not saying I don't trust Kathleen Kennedy to make any kind of smart business decision. Show me once when she has, apart from marrying Frank. That might have been the only smart business decision she made in her life. And sticking around Steven and Richard and Frank and all the other boys that made her a shitload of money. But she's never exhibited any capacity to run a studio in proper fashion and not lose a boatload of money doing it. So somebody above her, like Alan Bergman, has to be the one to go, no. And Alan Bergman, like we've joked in the past, might be the best guy at Disney because he stopped Kathleen Kennedy from putting out anything from Star Wars since 2019, which has been a blessing. Those floodgates are about to open again. Mando and Grogu, right? We get that one again because that's Jon Favreau. It's got nothing to do with the sequel trilogy era. It was they made a popular little duo there until they screwed it up after Season 2, but they feel like, hey, we've got enough here that we can get people back in and make a big splash at the box office again with Star Wars. Okay, I don't necessarily agree with their hopes for this movie, and I still don't. I don't think it's going to be a massive failure, but I don't think it's going to do that great either. I think it's going to be middling. I think it's going to wind up with a middling box office that's probably, I think, what did I say before? Like maybe 100 million more so than Fantastic Four. I'm thinking like 600s, in the 600 range. It's not going to be great, but it won't be awful, right? And we got the first teaser trailer for it. But that movie makes the most sense for Star Wars right now. This makes no sense. This makes absolutely no sense. You need audiences to forget that character ever happened. That's the only hope you have. And if you start reminding them again that she's out there, but this is the problem. Disney right now is thinking, and I'm telling you this is what's going on, because this goes beyond Kennedy. Disney right now is thinking that enough time has passed. Listen to me. Disney's mind right now says enough time has passed. that we can safely bring this character back, because they don't want to admit failure, and that's what this is all about. Again, I think their assessment is absolutely insane. And I think what they're hoping for with this, by putting her in this movie, is they're using, basically what they've done here is they've given Sean Levy a test project. Now, he didn't know he was getting involved in a test project at first. I don't think. I don't have any evidence one way or the other. I'm saying this is just my personal gut reaction to all this. I think they Sean Levy had, again, a lot of success. Deadpool and Wolverine, $1.6 billion at the global box office. Again, because Sean Levy and Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman were left alone. Disney and Marvel and Kevin Feige left them the hell alone and let them do the movie they wanted to do, because they knew what their audience wanted. I don't for a second believe that Sean Levy came in and said, hey, I want to make a Rey movie. I think Sean Levy was excited to finally make a Star Wars movie like he wanted to, and thought that he was going to be given the same carte blanche basically as he had with Deadpool and Wolverine, or at least carte blanche on a scale that no other MCU director has ever been given in the last 10 years from Disney. Okay? Maybe the Russos to an extent. But again, Deadpool and Wolverine, special animal. I think he kind of thought he was going to get that deal with Star Wars. I don't think he got that deal. I think he got in there and he started working, and then he was put in a box, to make a fun movie, but then was eventually told, yeah, but your fun movie has to end over here with Rey. God help us. So again, I don't know. The Jedi Academy and all this kind of crap, and a force sensitive user and blah 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 blah. So it's going to be it's probably going to be terrible. But I think they're doing this to see, okay, let's see what the audience reaction to this is. Because if the audience reaction to this is good, then we will fast track the next episode 10 Rey Skywalker movie. We'll be excited about that. If the movie does poorly and the audience reaction to Rey is bad, then they're probably going to be very tepid again about going forward again with this character anymore. The problem is they should already be well aware that it's bad news. Probably should already be well aware. But they seem too stupid to understand that. I don't know. You guys tell me. Let's see. We got some super chats up on here. Oh, we got that one earlier. Thank you, Sabrina. Sabrina Matt. Heistman says, do you believe that Disney will never change their ways? Not anytime soon. Will Netflix buy Warner Brothers, or do you think Universal should buy? Oh, that's the one we got earlier. Appreciate that. Got that one earlier. Yeah, and I think we got this one from Archer. I agree. I don't feel Netflix would have an ideal direction to take it other than what? Outsourcing. Yeah. Don't do that. Leave Warner Brothers alone. Like at Paramount, I actually don't mind. My only caveat, as I mentioned before, was, or at least in a previous show, when we first talked about that topic, as the initial possibility was thrown out there in the ether, as long as they don't, as long as they don't have the theatrical output, like if Paramount's putting out 10 movies a year and Warner Brothers is putting out 10 movies a year, if Paramount buys Warner Brothers and they're still only putting out 10 movies a year instead of 20, I wouldn't like that. The theaters wouldn't like that. But if Netflix buys it, zero. You might have 0 movies a year. That's the problem with them. William Thompson I was thinking about you this past week. I'm like, man, I ain't seen William in a while. I hope he's good. William Thompson, member for 24 months. Hello, Valiant Renegade. Sorry I've been gone, but I took 2 weeks to finish buying my house. Thursday, I'll finalize everything and will be official. I'll own my first ever home. I had to pull back to get everything done. Outstanding, William Thompson. Congratulations. Appreciate it. Don't worry about look. We love your support, your super chats. You do a lot of membership gifting. William Thompson's been one of our most ardent supporters here on the channel. Sometimes things come up. It's okay. We're still here. We love the support, but it's people got to do what they got to do, man. We all got lives. Buying a house is an important thing. It's much more important than a super chat. So it's good to see you. Sean's out there, says for $2, at least I can see myself in Star Wars with Ryan Gosling. You need the 40-year-old white male, huh? Oh man. All right. I think what I'm going to do here, because I know there's a few topics I kind of wanted to meander through, and let's see. Just double checking a couple of things. I want to go through the Jimmy Kimmel stuff. My throat is cutting out. My throat is cutting out. At least my stomach isn't wrecking me right. What I think I'm going to do is I will do a Renegade Nation show here. And we'll cover that over there in a little bit. And what I'm going to do is right now, I'm going to set up, if y'all haven't subscribed, and I guess I need to do this more often. Because I want to go through, I do not understand what has been going on lately with, no, I don't want to ask Google about this page. What is this new Google Chrome bullshit? Good Lord. I don't care. I don't want to ask Google about the page. I want you to take what I'm typing into your address bar. Good Lord. And I'm going to show everybody here. Google Chrome's been driving me nuts too. I want to remind everybody about this. And we've got a lot of growth on this new channel, which is great. And we just started putting more videos down regularly for this. I don't know why. Why did we not have a thumbnail for that live stream? Get on over here to Renegade Nation. Go sub over on Renegade Nation. We appreciate you. Get on over there. We went over 2,000 subs, I guess, a week or two ago. So I'm going to talk some more about that a little bit later on this evening. In fact, I'm gonna set up. I'm going to set this up right now, as a matter of fact, for about an hour from now. So about 8:30 Central, about an hour from now. And I'm going to find my basic Renegade Nation thumbnail. If I have it here. I might not have it in this one. I just thought about that. Might not have it. Nope. I don't have it. It's on my laptop. I've got to get it from the other computer. Okay. So not that one. All right. It's set up. I'm going to set a redirect here real fast for everybody. So when we close the stream out in a little bit, it'll get you over to the lobby. Make sure you set your notifications up for that one. Do me a favor. Okay. Set your notifications once. You don't have to hang out in the lobby for the next 45 minutes if you don't want to. You can just leave the window open and go do something else. That's fine too. I just need a wee bit of a break. But what I do need to do is get the redirect set up so that it gets you over there, set your notifications up, and there we go. I need to get my base thumbnail sent because I got a lot of times, like recently, the last several months, I've been making thumbnails on the laptop, and then I'm having to load a thumbnail up from the laptop, make a StreamYard thing, blah blah blah, back and forth on the main computer, whatever. It's a mess. I've got to basically take like an entire day off just to clean up and do YouTube related stuff. I never seem to have the energy to do that damn thing. It's like I need to do it, but I've lazied out so bad. All right. Medmutt is out there, says, my Star Wars retcon. Disney Star Wars clips faster and faster, shorter and shorter, then recast Luke bolts upright in bed in sweat with or without. Mara Jade says, thank God it was only a nightmare. And a good story plays out from there. Yeah, that's the best way to do it. Oh, sequel trilogy. Disney Star Wars sequel trilogy. Yeah, I see what you're saying. Yeah. That's the way to do it. I mean, people would get upset that they, took something that would make it look that stupid. That's the only way you can do it. I don't, the whole Marvel has already, when we talked years ago about Star Wars using the world between worlds and all this to go back and change things, or, look, is that one possibility? Sure. They're going to do it at this point? No. They would have done that with Ahsoka. They used the logo in Ahsoka of the world between worlds, did nothing with it. And obviously they're not planning to, because we're still talking about Rey. Again, if Disney wants to continue to melt money, they can go right ahead and melt money. It's shareholder money is the problem. And people keep asking, how do the shareholders, this question came up, I think, on Josh's show yesterday, Den of Nerds. And I said, look, the problem is like we always remind people, is they are not, the box office is not the thing that drives Disney. Even in 2019, where they set records for box office with all those movies they had, it still didn't amount, the net revenue coming back from theaters, it still didn't amount to like even a month or a couple of weeks of ESPN during football season. It's not what drives it. It's the parks drive it. TV, live sports drive Disney, not the movies. So as long as films kind of reach a somewhat meh expectation, and look, the expectations have been lowered since COVID over the years. And they're like, oh, well, this is the new normal now. Don't fault us. The problem is it's not driving much of anything else for Disney. So it's not the same thing for them. Wall Street is, like I always say, is very stupid when it comes to understanding how the sausage is made. They basically go by what people like Iger tell them. They don't really understand how much money Disney loses on these things unless it's a massive flop. Like, Wall Street clearly understands that Snow White was a disaster. They clearly understand that movie was a total flop. But when they look at other things like Fantastic Four, or they look at Captain Falcon DEI, and they think, middle of the road, it'll, may want to be one of the top 10 movies or top 15 movies of the year. It didn't do great, but it did okay. It's like, not really. No, it lost, they lost a few $100 million on those. I don't think Tron Ares is going to bail them out, by the way. So, the Dead Man. For $2 VR, you didn't actually read my previous super chat. I didn't? I skipped one. You're right. I'm sorry. The Dead Man for $5. If you only had a choice between Jasmine Crockett or Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez for president, who would you pick? Why would I have to pick? I'd leave. I wouldn't vote. It'd be the first time in my life that I wouldn't vote. Wouldn't vote. I don't know. You're not going to make me pick between the two. The beauty of being an American is I have the right to exercise my right to vote, and sometimes that means I'm not going to. Because now again, I can't think of a time where I've said, you know what, I'm just not voting this election. I'm sitting this one out. And it's never happened. I've missed a couple of small, like, local things, like, there was a millage renewal on a library or a rec center tax or something for 1.5 mils or something like that. I have admittedly missed a handful of those in my lifetime, but generally speaking, I'm one of those top level voters that shows up for everything. But that's not a corner that I'm going to get in. You get fined if you don't vote. Where do you live? That's got to be an EU country, right? I know there's a couple. Is that like Switzerland, Denmark? Where did I hear? No, where was that? AOC is getting fat. Yeah, there's a lot of people that have been noticing that. Australia. Okay. So you have to go vote or you get fined? Mandatory voting. I tell you what, I'll talk about that over on Renegade Nation. That's interesting. Mandatory. I wish I could copy and paste this over there, but that's a terrible idea. Because it basically guarantees and forces every stupid person on earth who doesn't know anything about anything to go vote. When I'm one of these people. There are too many people voting, in my opinion. He did not just say, yes, he did. There are too many damn people voting. And we're talking about people that don't have the IQ to tie their shoe are being made to get up and vote, or somebody's voting for them. And I'm not saying ban people from voting. Don't misunderstand me. But the reason why voting is a responsibility and a right is that you need to be informed enough to get up, and you need to be motivated enough to want to get up and go do it. Not have somebody, browbeating you to go vote. If you're that kind of person, then you probably should not be voting. That's why penalizing people for not voting, I think, is a terrible idea, because it makes people that know nothing, that don't care, and are not motivated enough to educate themselves, it forces them to just vote for somebody. And those are the exact kind of people out there that wind up becoming useful idiots for certain political movements. You can imagine which, far more frequently than the other. And that's why a place like Australia does that. Look at the road Australia's been going down politically now for years. We'll talk more about that over there. All right. Okay, I think we've got everything set up here for the redirect. I'll see you guys in about an hour over there on Renegade Nation. We'll talk about some of the Jimmy Kimmel stuff and some other news of the day, the tragedy that happened. I'm going to see if there's any news updates since then. I'm thinking probably yes. In terms of kind of what we've seen go down here recently. We had, what was it, Michigan today, the church in Michigan, and my camera is having a lot of trouble staying locked on me. I don't know what's going on. But I'm gonna take a gander here, get some news items together, and figure out what's going on, and we'll talk about it. So I'll see y'all then. Give me about an hour. Take care.